The biggest strength I think that we found in the building is the space. We've found, and particularly with people with challenging behaviour, which is 3/4 of our population in the lodge, we have found that has really had a huge impact on their quality of life. And that's been, we've noticed that change very quickly. They've come in from hospital with a challenging behaviour history, which has been fairly recent, and sometimes within a week or two we see a massive change in that person's behaviour because they've got space to move around. They've got a sense of freedom, because quite often when people move into a care home, if it's small and it's oppressive, people want to get out, so that sometimes can cause the challenging behaviour. Whereas here, because we've got all the space and people can wander freely, and they can get out of a situation and move somewhere else, they can get time on their own if they don't want to be with the group, we find that the challenging behaviour reduces dramatically.
Because the rooms and the space is so big, you can have different things going on with different groups of residents without it causing an issue. And I have to say, I haven't known of one incident that there's been anything of aggression in the market square, and I'm convinced that's because of the space.
What we find is that there are slight differences in how people use the communities. We find in the residential units, for instance, the residents there often use their apartments a lot more. They spend a lot more time in there, and whereas in the nursing communities, people tend to spend a lot more time in the communal areas. So there's a difference there, I think, in how people use it.
The overall design is just amazing. The way that the residents can just go off in their own way and do what they want is just brilliant. Where you have your separate rooms and your benches, and they can go to their own apartments. It's their own place.
We're commissioned by the PCT, who are delighted really with the outcomes of the people that they've placed here in relation to that reduction in challenging behaviour. We've also been able to reduce the use of antipsychotic medication, and we've believed that the design of the place and the space has had a huge impact on that.
If a person is anxious and worried and sad or really confused, then the most beneficial thing for that person is to get outside for a minute and focus on something that's beautiful, that's natural, that may be very sensory, and that takes your mind off of what was worrying you. If a person's very angry, and I know this from some folks that I've seen, you get very angry, go for a walk around the garden, and it changes the air in your head. It brings you to a much different place. You're in a happier place, and all of a sudden that anxiety is not the main thing in your life, because you've remembered that you're connected to the world, and the world is changing, constantly beautiful and interesting, and there's something going on. So it takes the focus from that person off of their own worries and puts it onto something that could be very creative.
The limitations we've had is we opened residential community first, and we put that on the ground floor. If we were going to be doing it again, we would actually have the residents with nursing needs on the ground floor, because they have a more need to get outside in the open space. I think the residential residents, it's easier for them to come down on their own and access the open space, whereas it's harder for nursing residents. So we would have them on the ground floor if we were doing it again. You try your best to fit every dementia-friendly design in that you can, but you can't always get it absolutely perfect.